this is Susan. Welcome to volume 8 of my new video series. The topic of this volume is to attack. Isn't that fun? I love to attack. Who doesn't? Especially if it succeeds. Well, looking at these examples hopefully will help you to succeed more often. Well, there are a number of different types of attack that we will see examples about in this lesson. In the first chapter, we will see examples when one side successfully castles and the other one fails. The king stays in the middle of the board. Those are the nicest attacks because it's pretty one-sided. One king is stuck in the middle. All we need to do is open files and generally the attack succeeds. Then there are the types of attacks when the two kings castle on opposite sides. Those are really interesting. Oftentimes it's a race. Which side succeeds first? Both sides may get a chance to attack. And then finally, the third type, when both kings castle on the same side of the board. And those are the most common ones. And in those cases, usually you would attack with your pieces, meaning queen, rook, bishop, and knight, and not necessarily use any of your pawns. You will see a bunch of examples on that too. And now, sit back, relax, enjoy, and learn. In this chapter, we will look at examples when one king is stuck in the middle. As you can see, in this case, it is the black king. That's, of course, generally a very dangerous thing for a king that's stuck in the middle, especially when you can open files and diagonals to attack it. And of course, that should be your task. When you see a king a couple moves away from castling, try to do anything and everything you can to open files, diagonals, and attack the king, even if at times it may cost you a pawn or sometimes more. The first example we are seeing is a game of mine from a simultaneous exhibition that I gave in Stillwater, Oklahoma. I was playing against Glasgow, and we reached this position after just 12 moves, and my opponent went pawn hunting with the queen. As you can see, the black queen just captured a pawn on c3, attacking my rook in the corner. This is typically how one side or the other gets his or her king stuck in the middle of the board. That they go pawn hunting or they start a premature attack and they neglect the basic principles of chess, namely put your king to safety as early as you can. Well, in this position it was my turn and I played rook to b1. With this move, I obviously saved my rook and at the same time am attacking the pawn on b7. Also, the pawn on d5 is hanging. If black would try to finally get to castling by developing the bishop, the problem is the pawn on g7 would be lost, and after that, the king permanently would lose a safety hope of castling to the king's side, and castling to the queen's side would already not be a real improvement regarding the safety of the king, given that the b and c files are already wide open. So in this position, my opponent played rook to d8 to at least save the pawn on d5. And I captured the pawn on b7, which not only regains the sacrificed pawn, but also, more importantly, puts my rook on the 7th rank. Generally, if a rook can get there and cannot be chased out immediately, it's a huge achievement. Again, black has difficulties in developing the bishop, this time not just because of the bishop b2 g7 idea, but even a lot more powerful is to play queen a4, pinning the knight on c6, and if black castles, only then bishop b2, because now the problem is that the black queen can no longer hang on to the knight
black will lose a piece. If in this position black would try to develop with bishop to a3, which prevents obviously the bishop b2 idea, then white has a number of good moves, among them capturing the pawn on d5, but also simply just transposing to an endgame where black pretty much loses a bunch of pawns, probably will end up being at least 2 pawns down after the 2 rooks, or rather the second rook, also comes to the 7th rank. In the actual game, my opponent played queen c4 in hopes that maybe next move, finally, the bishop from f8 can develop and black can get to castle. It's all about black trying to finally